Welcome to another video by Meston Educational Services. In this video, we are going to introduce you to calculus and also how to plot derivative curves. Today's lesson features around understanding differential calculus. Now we know calculus is divided into two studies, differential and integral. So in differential calculus, we say we are normally finding the derivative of a function, and when I say we are finding the derivative of a function, we actually are determining the gradient of the curve or the function. Now, unlike a straight line, a curve, the gradient changes at every point. So we kind of estimate it using secant, and then we try to make the secant a tangent, and the equation or the slope of the tangent at any point on the curve is actually giving us the gradient of the curve. And the process of finding the derivative is called differentiation, and of course the end result is called the derivative of the function. So when I'm saying I found the derivative of function, it gives me the general rule for finding the slope or the gradient of any function. And I can even do the derivative of a function at any given point. So we know that the derivative of any straight line, you know the derivative of a horizontal line is always 0 and the derivative of a vertical line is undefined. But when we write the equation for a straight line in the form y equals mx plus c, m gives us the gradient. So what I've got is an example on the screen, and you're all very familiar with this. The derivative of this straight line is -2. So the gradient of this line at every single point on the line is -2. And we can actually sketch this, and what I would get as a result would be a horizontal line which would be at -2. So it's a horizontal line, and what that horizontal line is called is the derivative curve for this straight line, -2x plus 7. So today's lesson is going to be focusing on plotting derivative curves. So just before we do that, just need to understand the notation for derivative. So derivative is normally, if you write the equation in the form y equals -2x plus 7, then the derivative is expressed as dy by dx. However, if we are using the function notation, if my function is -2x plus 7, then the derivative of the function is written with f prime x, and the derivative in this case is -2. Now, as regards determining the actual derivative, that would be our next session or next lesson. But today we are focusing on derivative curves or the shape of the gradient function. So we are looking at derivatives of nonlinear functions, because finding the derivative of a straight line is pretty straightforward. So when I say nonlinear functions, the polynomial functions, which also of course includes the linear equations. Then power functions. A power function is a rational power. It could be x to the power of 3 over 2. So that's a rational power. Negative integers as a power. And I'm talking of a rectangular hyperbola in this case, or even a truncus function. So x to the power of -1 or x to the power of -2 would also be classified as power functions. Then we're going to look at exponential functions, logarithmic functions, trigonometric or circular functions, and then finally rational functions. So we would be looking closely at the derivative curves and also the derivatives of each of these functions. Of course, these functions will undergo some form of transformation, so we will be finding the derivative of the transformed functions. So when we find the derivative, the very first thing we do is to find the general derivative, which would be our next lesson. And once we have the general derivative, we can determine the derivative at any given point by just substituting the value of x into the derivative. And then we will be looking at graphing general derivatives, which is our study for today. And a derivative curve basically represents how the gradient of the curve is changing at any given point. So we can determine an approximate derivative to a curve by estimating the equation of the line. I'll just go back a step and say I could estimate the gradient of a curve by drawing a secant, and a secant is a straight line that touches 2 points. So after about 2 screens, I will give you a CAS display. So when we look at function, for instance, a quadratic, if I look at the turning point, from the turning point on the right, I could see that the gradient is continuously changing. Now, if it's a positive quadratic, the derivative will increase. And if I move to the left of the turning point, if it's a positive quadratic, the derivative would be a negative value. So the derivative at every single point on a curve would change. And just keeping in mind that the derivative at the turning point of any curve would always be 0, because what we would get at that point would be a tangent line. We would also be learning about local maximum or local minimum, and also stationary points of inflection. And other than stationary points of inflection, there would be a mention of a point of inflection as well, especially when we are doing derivative curves. So if we draw a chord or a secant to a curve, if I can find the gradient of the chord, that would be the approximate gradient for the curve. But we want to be more precise in determining the gradient to the curve. So what we do is, the points where the secant is touching the curve, if those 2 points are brought close together, very, very close, so that the distance separating them is just about 0, not 0, because if the derivative, if we make the denominator 0, then the gradient would be undefined. So what we say is the change in x is approaching 0, but we don't actually make it 0. Now probably what I'm saying will make more sense when I actually take you to the calculator screen. But this is a mathematical way of understanding a derivative. So for a straight line, we know that the gradient is rise over run, so which we know is m, and rise is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In terms of calculus, I'll represent that as a change in y over change in x. So change in y is delta y, and change in x is delta x. Using the function notation, rise over run can be written as function value at x2, which is any point, minus function value at x1 over x2 minus x1. So that's still rise over run. Now when we bring these 2 points close together, I can write x1 as x and x2 is a value x plus h. Now x could be a positive number or a negative number. If it's a positive number, it is to the right of x. If it's a negative number, then obviously it is to the left of x. So it does not really matter, but h over here represents a point very, very close to x, so that additional value of h, so it's going to be very close to x. So in other words, my denominator would always be h, and then when we are finding the derivative, we are saying that h is approaching 0. So that there is the general formula for finding the derivative. Now that's the calculus expression. So that's the function value at x plus h and minus the function value at x over h, where we say h is approaching 0, and this now represents the slope of the tangent. So if I look at this screen over here now, you will see I've got a blue curve, which is actually a function, and I've got a point -2, and then I've got another point 2. So I've got a secant that is actually crossing this curve. In fact, it's actually crossing it, touching the curve at 3 points. So here, then somewhere here as well, and then here. So if I can bring this point as close together to the black point over here, which is close to -2, this red secant will then change into a tangent. So at the moment, my gradient is 1.75. That's the gradient for the red line. And I've got y2 minus y1 is 7, x2 minus x1 is 4. So let's observe this on the actual calculator screen now. So now what you are observing is my calculator screen, and if I just play this animation, you'll see that this white point actually starts moving closer to the black point, and down here on the screen I want you to notice what happens to the gradient, and of course you'll see y2 minus y1 and x2 minus x1 values changing as well. So here I'm starting the animation, and you can see that my gradient has increased, and then now the gradient starts decreasing, and the white point has come very close to the black one, but still the distance separating x2 and x1 is 1.44. If I keep playing it, and that's 0.96 now, and the gradient is roughly sitting at 1.55. And now you'll see that the red line, which was the secant, is more or less becoming a tangent, but obviously I can bring it much closer, and it's 0.48 now, the value of h. Now I can't make the value of h as 0, which I have done in this particular case, because then my denominator becomes 0, and then the gradient will become undefined. So if I just go back here, and you can see that my secant is actually approximating to a tangent. So that's what really finding a derivative does. So we are trying to put a tangent to a curve at any given point. Let's go to the next screen here. So it's the same function that I have got, and I've got this point over here, and the x value currently is negative 6.73, as you can see on the screen. Now when I move this red point, the x value is changing as we expect, but you'll also see I've got a red line which is the tangent now. So it's not a secant anymore, it's a tangent, and right under that it says the derivative value is negative 5.71, which I'm displaying over there. What it means, the gradient at that point is negative 5.71, and right down here I've got the equation for the tangent, which is y equals mx plus c. So that there is the y-intercept. Of course, we're not interested in the y-intercept at the moment. We are more interested in the gradient, which is negative 5.71. Now you will see the gradient is negative, but as I move this down, the gradient is still negative, but it is becoming less negative, and then you will see it is approaching 0, and obviously it will become 0 at the turning point. So if I just pause there, around that point the gradient is 0, and then the gradient now is positive, and this is where I wanted to observe carefully. At the moment the gradient is 1.21, it's increasing, it's still increasing, 1.39, 1.5. It will keep increasing to a certain value, although it's positive, and then when it gets to a certain value, in this particular case around 2, it's 1.96 and 1.99 and then 2, and now what we observe, if I go beyond this point, the gradient is still positive, but it starts decreasing. So as long as the gradient is positive, if I was to do a derivative curve, it would be above the x-axis, which we would be looking in our next screen. So once again, the derivative is becoming less positive and it approaches 0, and now the derivative here is negative. So every point that I have taken for x, I have got the derivative or the gradient, and if I was to put that as a separate curve, which I have got over here, you will see I've got all these points accumulated. So I captured all those points. So that's my original function there. And this black one over here, which is actually an accumulation of a whole lot of points, is my derivative curve. So I'll just display that again. So that's my x value. So you will see there, and there I can go and put my derivative there. Of course, I can go and change the scale, but my original function there was a cubic. That's the pink one, and now the derivative for a cubic is a quadratic. Likewise, if I have a quadratic as my original function, the derivative would be a linear equation. Okay, so we are going to focus on how do we get this curve. This is called the derivative curve, and that was the original function. So today's lesson and your homework task would be to draw the derivative curve for any given function. So let's look at this here. So I have a cubic over here, which is negative x cubed over 16 plus 2x plus 3. So the red function there is the cubic, and that's my original function, and the green one there is my derivative curve for the original function, which is in red. Now what are the key things I have to notice over here is the x-intercept for the derivative function. Where do you think the x-intercept is? The x-intercept is actually the turning point for my original function. That's where the gradient becomes 0, and that's where my gradient is 0, because that's the derivative function. So the gradient there is 0 and the gradient here is 0. For me, the gradient over here is negative, and when the gradient is negative, it will always be below the x-axis. So that section of the curve will be below the x-axis. Now once again, if I go here, the gradient is negative and it is becoming less and less negative, and it is approaching 0. So if I follow this green one, it's negative, it's becoming less negative, it's approaching 0. So at this point it approaches 0. So that's for the negative section. Now from here the gradient is at this point the gradient is 0, it's becoming positive, it reaches a maximum positive value, it is still positive, but now it starts approaching 0, and that's why you see that my curve is above the x-axis. So for that entire section my gradient is positive, and that's from here to here. So the next screen will obviously explain that. So if you look at this, I have got my original function there, which is that blue curve there, and I've only taken the section where the gradient is positive. So the gradient from there to there is positive, and I can see that it is above the x-axis there. That's my gradient curve, and then if I change it to negative, that there is the section where the gradient is negative, and that green curve over there represents the derivative curve for there. So negative is below the x-axis. When it becomes 0, it touches the x-axis, and gradient here is 0, and then once again it's becoming negative and more negative. So you can see it's moving away. So that's a cubic, and the derivative curve there is a quadratic, which was so coming back here, I've got different stages when it's capturing, and you can see that's more or less when the secant has changed to a tangent, and the gradient at that point is 1.26. And this was the other bit I illustrated, which was the derivative at every point on the curve is changing. So currently the x value is negative 5.7 and the derivative reads as negative 4.09. And this is where I had captured all the values, and I had put this in form of a graph, which is this one here. Okay, and this just illustrates the section where the gradient is negative, and that's the red section. And you can see at that point it has just about started turning, and the gradient has become positive, and that's why my curve has just gone over the x-axis. The gradient there is positive. The next screen shows another point, and the gradient has just gone past the turning point, so the gradient has started becoming negative, and the turning point was the x-axis. Now I just want you to have a look at these two screens as well, so which I displayed. So the function has a positive gradient here, so the derivative is above the x-axis, and at these points the function has a negative gradient, and that is why the derivative is below the x-axis. Now when we are plotting derivative curves, we really need to be looking at three things. The first is where is the gradient 0. So the red one is my original function, the gradient is 0, and the green curve is my derivative curve. Just ignore the second derivative curve for the time being, but if you look at the green curve, it just touches the x-axis, and that's when my gradient is 0. And from here to here, what do I observe? My gradient is positive, so it's increasing, and that is why my y values or the gradient values are increasing. Now it reaches a certain maximum value here. In this particular example, the gradient still is positive, but it's maximum over there, and from here to here the gradient actually is positive but is approaching 0. That's why my curve is moving down. So this point where the gradient reaches its maximum value, we call that as a point of inflection. Now in this particular case, the point of inflection, actually the gradient does not become 0. If it were to become 0, then we would say it's a stationary point of inflection. But the point of inflection over here is when the gradient becomes maximum, or if the curve was going downwards, then where the gradient becomes minimum, and that's where it starts turning. And then you can see that my gradient from here is positive, but less and less positive and approaching 0, and that's where the gradient becomes 0 for my red curve over there. Now the reason I've drawn the second derivative is at times it can help you find where the point of inflection is, but I won't cover that in today's section. I'll leave that for another lesson. So this was my red is my original function and green is the derivative curve. So in today's task, I've got a worksheet which has got several functions, and you have to do the derivative curves for them. Now when you are plotting the derivative curve, we are not looking at very precise x-intercepts or y-intercepts for the derivative function at the moment. We are looking at where the derivative changes, becomes 0, and where the derivative would be maximum. That's what the curve plotting would involve. That would be today's lesson. Now I just want to draw your attention to the worksheet that I have got for you. So what I've got for you is a worksheet. The first question here says draw approximate derivative curves, and you don't need to worry about marking the exact points. If you can, of course, that's great. The first function is a linear equation. The second and third are quadratics, which have a different vertical translation, and I want you to write a conclusion after you've done the derivative curve, and want to see if the vertical translation actually affects the derivative at all. The fourth one is a square root function, which is x to the power of half. Now in this case, we know that the derivative is always positive. It is maximum when it starts, and then the derivative actually is still positive, but it becomes less and less positive. It approaches the value of 0 but never becomes 0. So I would be interested in seeing your derivative curve for this one. Question number 2, I've got some shapes. When on the graphing grid, you just need to put the shape for the derivative curve. So this is a linear equation with a positive gradient. This is a horizontal line where the gradient is 0, and a negative quadratic. Then this one here is a cubic, a quartic. This is a square root function as well, which is reflected, and it's gonna undergone a vertical translation as well. But we are more interested in the derivative curve shape. This here is a rectangular hyperbola, and this one here is a circle. It would be interesting to see the derivative curve for a circle. This one here is a sine function, and maybe once you've done the derivative curve, you'll know what the derivative of a sine function is. This one here is tan, which again may be slightly challenging. So the graph for the derivative of tan x would be an interesting one. This here is a combination of two functions, so sine x plus x, and you will see in this particular case that the gradient actually does become 0 in between, but the gradient is always positive. The gradient at no point is negative. So this would be an interesting curve for you to plot. This one, the gradient does become negative and positive, and it's still a sine graph plus a graph of x over 2. And this over here is still a sine graph plus 2x. So the gradient actually never becomes 0, and it's always positive. The gradient keeps changing. So it would be an interesting curve to do the derivative for. And an exponential function here. And then finally a log function. The last one is a power function, which is x to the power of m over n, and I would be interested in seeing the derivative curve for this one as well. And as I can see, the gradient is positive, but the question is, does it actually become 0 at all? So all the best, and I'll try and post the solutions for this, and hopefully we can take it from there.